Lunchroom on RCI. Food for thought. The station that gives you, more lunch.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International for Friday, March the 15th, 2022. This is program number 1146 and I'm your host, Calix George Jr. Apologies for the late start. We're broadcasting live from Sans Souci Castries from our studios here. Now, of course, in addition to radio on 101.1 FM, you can also get us at our website. It is rcistlucia.com, rcistlucia.com, and you can also download our previous shows on that platform as well. We are broadcasting as well. We are streaming live on Facebook. Just search for the official page of Radio Caribbean International on Facebook, and be sure to like and share that, please, with your friends and family in the diaspora. Now, if you want to call in to tell us what's on your plate today, the number to do so is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. And you can also message in to our WhatsApp number. That is 724-0008. You can call in or message in, as I said. It is 724-0008. Bit of history for today. In the year 44 BC, Julius Caesar is stabbed to death by Brutus, Cassius, and several other Roman senators on the Ides of March in Rome. In the year 1493, on this day, Christopher Columbus returned to Spain after his first voyage to the New World. In the year 1917, on this day, the last Russian Tsar, Nicholas II, abdicated and nominated his brother, Grand Duke Michael, to succeed him. 1962, on this day, saw 5 research groups announcing the discovery of antimatter. 1985, on this day, saw the first internet domain. It was called Symbolics. Symbolics.com. It was the first time internet domain name was registered. And 2019, on this day, climate change strikes held by school children took place around the world, inspired by a Swedish teenager by the name of Greta Thunberg. And we now move on to our dish of the day. The daily dish is brought you the kind compliments of our good friends at Tiles Plus.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+. With all kind of tiles, come down to Tiles Plus. We also black, that's and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down to mind nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses Groziles, and Slack Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939. Tiles Plus.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
And welcome back to the lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. And again, apologies for the late start as a result of an accident on the Castries Grosley Highway and on the dual carriageway section somewhere in the vicinity of Vidbouteille. It was delayed in getting here. Now, of course, I suppose it's a good opportunity, perhaps, to discuss the nature of our infrastructure and our development. And we have, in fact, been assured of a much greater focus on infrastructural development in this coming financial year. And infrastructure is certainly very important for development. And when we speak about infrastructure, that's actually a very broad term and could, in fact, sometimes even refer to things that are not even physical in some sense. But generally, we think of the physical networks that support some form of development. And of course, so you can speak of health infrastructure, education infrastructure, the buildings, the plant, and equipment that effectively provide the facility for individuals, for the system to be able to function. But generally, of course, we are thinking about our communications systems, and that could be usually a reference to road transport or road infrastructure or transport infrastructure, because of course transport infrastructure can take many different forms, and it may also be not just simply the roads, of course, but sometimes the attendant infrastructure to support public transit. So the idea of bus terminals, transit hubs are very important. Of course, perhaps if we had a larger population, we may potentially be able to talk about things like tramways and rail. That, of course, is becoming light rail is becoming a lot more popular, as opposed to the more costly approaches that are used sometimes in establishing metro systems, underground systems, subways in very large metropolitan areas. And so the matter of transport infrastructure is certainly very important, but it is difficult to necessarily say that we can just depend on road transport alone. It will also mean that you have to have the systems to be able to move people on those roads as well. There has, of course, been touted over the years the need for a greater use of the sea, of ferry services as well, to be able to move individuals. Now, of course, ships, boats, they tend to come with their added maintenance costs, and it sometimes does make it more difficult to be able to move people. And of course, you also have to talk about the reliability of the actual link that you have. In this instance, it's the sea, it's the water, which can sometimes, of course, depending on the weather, become rather aggressive and perhaps not the best medium to be transporting on. So that, of course, has been something that has been touted. And of course, in St. Lucia, we did have once upon a time a strong reliance on the sea for our transport and logistics and communications. Most of the settlements, of course, were built on the sea, but even from the perspective of internal transport, that also was very strongly dependent on boats, on schooners, plying between the towns and villages, primarily along the calmer Caribbean Sea. We, of course, have not seen that for a fair time, and so the times of having those vessels hopping from one village to the next, all the way down from Castries down to Vieux-Fort, is not really that common, although there have been some attempts by some to provide a ferry service from the airport, the Hiwanor International Airport, for passengers to bring them right up to the Rodney Bay Marina. But it still is not a, for general passenger movement, has not really been developed. It's largely a matter of leisure cruise at the moment. Of course, there are, as I said, many considerations as to how well those systems work. And in the case of looking at applicability in terms of what types of transport networks you develop, one of them has to be the matter of density. And when you've got a very spread out, distributed, dispersed form of settlement, which is very common in suburbs, where you have got things very much spread out, American suburbs, for example, or North American suburbs, Australian suburbs, and like that, very spread out. the car tends to dominate because you don't have very good densities to be able to justify things like buses and the use of mass transit. Those require generally people to be living in close proximity to those amenities so that they can in fact best utilize it. So therein, of course, again lies that very strong nexus which exists between your physical planning and your transport planning. These two go together, and so of course if we are to expect maybe better bus services, it also means that the road network has to kind of respond to it as well. And the way we have developed, unfortunately, has not really promoted that too much. For example, we've got lots of dead-end roads. Lots of roads where you go down and at the end of the day, there's only one way in, one way out. Not very many opportunities for loops, not very many opportunities for new alternative routes for public transport. And so that certainly does not help in expanding the public transport network here in St. Lucia. So, unfortunately, as is the case, it will quite likely mean that we will be potentially stuck in traffic for quite some time to come. That's our dish of the day. When we come back, we're going to take in the weather report and then head to the phones.
This has been The Daily Dish.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+. Need all kind of tiles. Come down to Tiles Plus. We also glad gasway and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down, don't mind nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses, Grozile, and Slack Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939.
Island Star's annual Easter clearance sale is here, and boy, do we have some exciting deals for you. Massive savings on tires to be had with discounts of up to 30% off store-wide. Buy all we have in the low stock model and watch your discounts skyrocket with a huge 50% off. Plus, get chip edge tires for as low as $1. Yes, we're clearing out our old stock to bring in the new. And that's not all. The Easter Bunny has added extra savings on toilet, tubs, bathroom vanities, tile tools, and so much more. It won't get any better than this. Jump on these excellent deals and visit our Island Style showroom in Castries, Rodney Bay, or Beaufort, or call 450-452 or 453-TILE. That's 8453. Sale ends holiday Saturday. When you think tile, think Island Style.
This is Radio Caribbean International. It's now time for the weather news. This has been RCI's Weather News. For more information, call the Weather Hotline at 454-3452. RCI 101 number 1.
Island Star's annual Easter clearance sale is here, and boy, do we have some exciting deals for you. Massive savings on tires to be had with discounts of up to 30% off store-wide. Buy all we have in the low stock model and watch your discounts skyrocket with a huge 50% off. Plus, get chip edge tires for as low as $1. Yes, we're clearing out our old stock to bring in the new. And that's not all. The Easter Bunny has added extra savings on toilet, tubs, bathroom vanities, tile tools, and so much more. It won't get any better than this. Jump on these excellent deals and visit our Island Style showroom in Castries, Rodney Bay, or Beaufort, or call 450-452 or 453-TILE. That's 8453. Sale ends holiday Saturday. When you think tile, think Island Style.
On our beautiful island of St. Lucia, love and harmony should always exist. Yet, domestic violence continues to haunt our homes and relationships, branching out into the community as other forms of violence. Every home should be a haven. Together, we can break the cycle of abuse and ensure that all people of St. Lucia feel protected no matter the nature of their relationships. The Domestic Violence Act of St. Lucia offers support to victims and holds perpetrators accountable for their actions. It's time to know your rights, St. Lucia. Today, we stand together as a community saying no to violence. If you or someone you know is in danger, take action now. Visit our website at genderlms.govt.lc or call our helpline at 202 to get more information. Together, we can build a safer St. Lucia for all people. This campaign is brought to you by the Division of Gender Affairs, financed by the Embassy of France, and implemented by Unite Caribbean.
And welcome back to the lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. Apologies, we seem not to have the noontime weather report available from the St. Lucia Met Services, only the morning one. So we just omitted that aspect. So hopefully we can get that later on during the day. Now, as well, of course, as I mentioned, we were discussing a little bit about the matter of infrastructure and in particular transport infrastructure. But we do want to touch on some other things. Now, we did start a conversation earlier on during the week about Haiti and trying to give some context to the current state of affairs over there, of course. And I've heard people say, well, the situation in Haiti kind of began in 1991, and almost, dismissed the very long-standing situation that existed even before Haiti, that a lot of the challenges in that country. But the idea of the instability, quite often in many people's minds, is only 3 decades old. We know that it's not just 3 decades old. Perhaps it's 20 decades old, or even more. And so certainly giving some context to that is always very useful. But of course, in the current circumstances, we are still hoping for some quick action. There are some challenges, though. We do know only Kenya has really come forward to provide support in terms of that intervention force. And even in Kenya, there has been a degree of opposition towards their involvement in this matter. In fact, there's some standing legal challenge, in fact, at the level of the Kenyan Supreme Court into whether, in fact, Kenya can send that support team, that military team, intervention team, to Haiti. So that has been delayed, and of course it has not is long in coming at this point, because there have been pleas and calls for this support for one can say perhaps well over a year now. And so, of course, we've seen where we have now gotten to the point where the sitting prime minister, never really elected, Dr. Ariel Henry, has agreed to step aside, to step down, resign, along with his council of ministers, so as to allow for a transitional government. And according to the CARICOM decision coming out, agreement of all parties, including some other countries beyond CARICOM, that and Haitian stakeholders, that there will be a 7-person transitional council. Now, even in the formation of that council, that no doubt is going to be a very careful and somewhat challenging undertaking in and of itself. Haiti is a very divided country in so many different levels, and even at the political level, one statistic which I heard was quite remarkable, that there are over 200 political parties in Haiti. And you can just well imagine, if every political party had to have a person on that council, you would never have a council. And so you then have to figure out, well, okay, who has, how do you even determine, of course, without even having a poll, an election, who really holds the support of the people still? And so, of course, it's a major challenge in being able to get to that point where there will, in fact, be the kind of stability that is desired in Haiti. But like I said, we do have a very interesting piece, and it was done fairly recently by a German entity called Deutsche Welle. They provide some very interesting documentaries, and this one is in fact on the matter of Haiti and how in fact it got to being where it was, looking way back to seeing how that first free black republic became destabilized. So let's take a listen to this clip. I think it's about 14 minutes long.
This is Haiti, and this is how rich cruise ship tourists, the relatively few who visit, get to see it, at a private beach on the northern coast. And this is the reality, just a few kilometers away in the capital, Port-au-Prince, for most people in Haiti. Violent gangs are in control of the streets, skyrocketing prices for food mean most people are hungry and miserable.
Au moment où je vous parle, à Port-au-Prince, il y a deux morts. Pas loin de chez moi, il y a 2 morts.
This is Jean-Samuel Montor. He is a freelance journalist from Haiti.
Je ne trouve pas vraiment de mots pour décrire la situation que nous vivons actuellement. Les violences sont aggravées et les cas de kidnapping sont explosés en Haïti.
But did you know the start of Haiti's story is quite inspirational? It had the world's only successful slave revolt, leading to the world's first black republic. So what happened? Let's just say colonialism played its part, and all these big players, amongst others, were involved. So let's unravel how the world messed with Haiti and what that means for today. This is Haiti's flag now. This is what it used to be when it was still called Saint-Domingue. Yes, that's the French flag. When the black slaves broke free of their French masters, they removed the white stripe from their flag, representing an end to white European power. A bit of white later reappeared in the flag, but with Haitian symbols. But let's start at the beginning, or at least what Europeans consider the beginning of Haiti. It was actually Christopher Columbus who was the first colonial player to set foot on the island of La Hispaniola. He landed in what is now called Mont Saint-Nicolas on November 6, 1492, claiming it for Spain. At the time, 500,000 indigenous people were living on the island. By the mid-17th century, most of those indigenous people were gone. Europe was crazy for coffee and sugar, and this Caribbean island promised both. France fought Spain for control. The two colonial powers ended up splitting the island in two. The Spanish colony of Santo Domingo is today the Dominican Republic, and the French Saint-Domingue later became Haiti. The French brought in African slaves for the grueling work on sugarcane plantations. By 1800, Haiti had a population of more than 700,000, overwhelmingly people from West Africa.
That was a very it was kind of a barbarian system. Slaves worked, they were beaten, etc.
Robert Fatten is a professor of politics at the University of Virginia. Born and raised in Port-au-Prince, Haiti has been at the center of his research for decades. The exploitation of slaves was lucrative. Saint-Domingue became France's most profitable colony in the Americas. Slave labor plantations supplied roughly 40% of sugar imported to Europe at the time. It was a brutal system, both for the enslaved humans as well as the ecosystem. You can still see the effects today. Just look at these aerial images on the border with the Dominican Republic. On the Dominican side, you can see lush forests and green lands. On the Haitian side, the land is barren, trees gone. Back to the French colony of Saint-Domingue. By the end of the 18th century, the slaves had had enough. Not surprisingly, they revolted and made history.
The revolution is something that all Haitians are very proud of. I mean, it persists. I mean, this is one of the, as we say in French, mythe fondateur, the founding myth. And it's one thing that keeps us going.
In 1804, Haiti became the first black republic in the world. So far, so good. But it came with a price, a crippling one. First, isolation. Nobody wanted to do business with a new nation. The new Black Republic was cut off economically, surrounded by the colonies of powerful nations using slave labor who feared their slaves could also revolt. Haiti was the first Black Republic, reason enough for some of its powerful neighbors to refuse to even trade with a new nation, because, racism. And France? Republican revolutionary France demanded Haiti pay for its independence. Having lost its lucrative source of sugar, France sought reparations, a staggering sum of 150 million francs in gold. Over the next century, Haiti paid the equivalent of between 20 and 30 billion US dollars. With massive debt, how much of a chance did the young republic even have? After independence, Haiti suffered. From the burden of reparations, from isolation, but also from poor governance. A series of bad governments, leaders who added to the country's misery.
I believe that there is such a thing as an opportunistic and ultimately detrimental convergence of interest between the Haitian rulers and the international community. The interest of the Haitians and the interest of the foreign powers is not necessarily the same, but the ultimate consequence of that convergence, opportunistic convergence, is that it is detrimental to the country.
So both domestic and international factors have led to the devastating status quo in Haiti. A symbol for that is Cité Soleil. The densely populated neighborhood of Port-au-Prince is now in near complete control of gangs. Nearby is the Fontaine Hospital Center. In November 2023, a heavily armed gang stormed the hospital and threatened people inside.
It's an environment of people are trying to survive and where violence is completely normalized right now.
Diego Darin works at the International Crisis Group, a non-governmental organization committed to conflict resolution. He recently traveled to Haiti. The security situation rapidly deteriorated in July 2021. Back then, Haiti's president, Jovenel Moïse, was killed by Colombian mercenaries. It's unclear who paid them. The last time a Haitian president was killed was in 1915. That assassination opened a chapter of foreign intervention which still impacts Haiti today. That same year, US Marines landed in Port-au-Prince. Officially, US forces were there to restore order, but Washington also wanted to block European powers on the island from tapping into Haiti's resources.
So we owed some money to the US banks, and the instability in Haiti gave a pretext to the United States to move in with the Marines. And the first thing they did was to go into the central bank of Haiti, take the reserves of the central bank, put it on a boat and send it back to New York to Citibank. And that's the way it was. US
troops stayed for 19 years, but their footprints are still visible today.
What happened with the occupation was the centralization of power in Port-au-Prince, and the most important element was the creation of a centralized army, which became very much the arbiter of politics for a very long time in Haiti.
The US occupation backed local elites and trained local security forces. Those forces would later back various regimes, including the brutal dictatorship of François Papa Doc Duvalier and his son Baby Doc. This led to a situation where Haitians became suspicious of power. And up until today, there is a vacuum of power, with Haiti edging closer to failed state status. A symbol for that, the National Palace. The official residence of the president was destroyed in Haiti's devastating earthquake in 2010. The ruins were even then removed, and the palace never rebuilt.
They have talked to rebuild, but nothing has happened. The reconstruction that was promised never materialized. Money was squandered, money was stolen.
And again, foreign influence played its part. Maybe with good intentions, but again with a bad outcome for Haiti. Foreign powers wanted to bypass corrupt officials and gave their aid directly to NGOs.
So the state became, kind of a very weak structure. And people who were working in the state, they started moving into the NGOs. So when you have NGOs everywhere, no one controls them. The government loses its essence, and once you have that, there is no, so we've moved from a very despotic regime to a regime that has no control over anything.
All this led to the situation today. No president, no functioning parliament, just the acting Prime Minister Ariel Henry with no real power. One of the worst crises Haiti has ever seen. That's why Henry has once again turned to the international community and asked the UN for help, yet another international player.
Pour le moment, les missions onusiennes sont très mal vues en Haïti. Ces missions sont très mal vues en Haïti.
The last time the United Nations intervened in Haiti, things went horribly wrong. This is Haiti's main water source, the Artibonite River. And this is precisely where the last UN mission took a devastating turn. In 2010, UN peacekeepers, mainly from Nepal, set up camp here, just above a stream flowing into the Artibonite River. A few days later, close by, suddenly the first cholera cases appeared. Investigations later found that the UN soldiers had unintentionally released infected sewage into the stream flowing into the Artibonite River, leading to a cholera outbreak that cost 10,000 lives and spread across the country.
And there was never really any type of a restitution for those deaths. So there is a very bad taste in the, in Haiti for that kind of intervention.
The UN mission that was supposed to bring stability and security to Haiti left the country in 2017. So what does all of this mean for today? Has the world abandoned Haiti for good? And are Haitians even glad about it? Not quite. In 2022, the Prime Minister called for a new international security mission to come to Haiti to crack down on gang violence and lawlessness. Kenya has offered to lead a new UN-backed multinational mission that could soon deploy to Haiti.
Il y a là, avec la police kenyane, au moment où je vous parle, on en a besoin. On en a besoin des... on en a besoin, non? Les Haïtiens, ils veulent une force étrangère parce que l'insécurité s'est aggravée ces dernières années.
But a lot is still unclear.
The UN and the Kenyans and the Americans, the Canadians and the French have said this is going to be a very different intervention. Now, I'm not quite sure that this necessarily is going to be a very different intervention.
The idea is to send just a small group of highly trained police staff to restore order and secure key infrastructure, such as the country's main airport.
So yes, now the international community is realizing that it must change the way it has acted and the way it has intended to help Haiti.
But gangs control some 80% of Port-au-Prince. They are well armed and know the terrain. Even if international forces are welcomed at first, that could change quickly.
So there might in fact be support for an intervention, but I think that support may be very short-lived if it is not a very effective intervention. In other words, they may welcome them, but if they can't establish order fairly quickly, I think the population would turn against them.
For Haitians, the new mission raises once again the question, will it bring improvement or damage the country in the long run? A question with no answer yet, but Haitians have a resilient past to cling on to.
Je pense qu'on a besoin, bon, on le dit souvent, mais je pense qu'on a besoin d'un peu de conscience, d'inspirer de nos aïeux, parce que on n'est pas sans savoir qu'on est la première république noire libre. On a surmonté beaucoup de choses pendant ces 200 ans.
Haiti clearly will face a number of problems for the foreseeable future. What do you think? Which geopolitical issue should we map out next?
And that piece coming from Deutsche Welle, as I mentioned, DW, which is a German media house, which covers quite a bit of world news. Now, of course, giving a pretty long-standing view of the current situation in Haiti and the issues, of course, of mistrust, of external intervention, and one can well understand the average Haitian, of course, looking at their situation and knowing that it's not a very good one, and perhaps wanting a return to some level of normalcy and peace. But then, of course, the issue is who is to come in and how are they to act, and whether, in fact, sometimes they are bringing more problems than solutions. And of course, so we've all been here before, basically, right? U.S. intervention, and we've seen how that has gone, and French intervention, and we've seen how that has gone, and UN intervention, and the challenges with that as well. And so it really, will require, I think, a certain ability to learn from the lessons of the past. And let us hope that the Caribbean community will also actively play its part in this matter. Now, of course, the Caribbean community has been doing quite a bit in terms of intervention and using influence as it can to be dealing with some of these issues. Of course, we saw recently the matter of Venezuela and Guyana and the issues there, the Essequibo region, of course, a hotbed for potential oil exploration, and the threats made by and statements made, declarations made by Venezuela. The Caribbean community did in fact get involved as well through CELAC, a grouping for Latin America and the Caribbean. And it appears that there's been some positive movement in that regard. Of course, I would say that Haiti is a far more complex and far more real issue. Right? You've got people who are in fact dying. You've got a country that has been faced with significant crisis, moving from crisis to crisis to crisis for many, many, many years now. And really needs a new lease on life, really needs a break, perhaps even a break of the past, the sordid past that it has had, and which defines it so very much. And so let us really hope that the approach this time is going to bear fruit, and let us hope that we can begin seeing a state being formed coming out of this situation. We've seen in some instances where you've got these failed states, like in Somalia, for instance, where there were, years and years of civil war and fighting and crisis, to the extent where you're seeing even new regions or provinces declaring their own independence. Somaliland, for instance. And recently there was a whole matter of Ethiopia recognizing and supporting Somaliland because it had its own interests in terms of its development and access to the sea for trade and the potential for doing business with Somaliland as opposed to Somalia. And so we certainly do know that in these situations, there tends to be that possibility where things can get fractured. One can say it already is, and we've already seen that impact where even gang leaders, of course, now believe they have a right to rule, and they are the best ones to be able to bring peace, as oxymoronic as that may seem. Now, next week, we do hope that we can, in addition to our normal programming, do a bit of a series on the Constitutional Reform Commission report. Now, as I mentioned, that report is pretty old now. It was originally submitted in March of 2011. So it is now, as you can well see, its 13th anniversary was not too long ago. It was just a few days ago when this was, in fact, we're still in March really, so that when it was actually submitted for the first time. It took another, I think, about 4 years, 4 or 5 years before it was actually brought forward to the Parliament of St. Lucia. And after one sitting, it was then sent to a committee which never was met, never formed. And we're now seeing the reformation or revitalizing of this committee, this parliamentary appointed committee, for the purpose of looking at this report, which of course is a journey which started nearly 20 years ago. Because it was started back in 2004, that whole process from 2004 until 2011 when the report was finally submitted. Well, 7 years in the making, and it generated a report of over 360 pages with over 190 recommendations. And so we're going to try to begin unpacking some of that, hopefully, and to see what people's views may be on some of these things, and is it in fact still a solution to some of our challenges. That's our program here today at Radio Caribbean International's Lunchroom. Of course, we do hope that you have a very blessed weekend, and we'll be back again, God willing, on Monday. Please join us for that.